Hi, first graders. So today we are talking about subtracting half of a double. So let's talk about these words first. So subtracting means taking away or minusing. Half is when we split something into two parts evenly. So if I have 4 of these yellow blocks and I wanted to split them in half, I would have 2 on one and 2 on the other because it's evenly split, right? And you can do the same thing if you were to connect them all together, and you can see that this is the full piece, and if I were to take it right in half, it'd be even amounts. And double means you're doubling the amount. So if I only had 2 blocks and I wanted to double it, I'd add the same amount to it, and that's doubling it. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of this. So let's start out with the number 10. So if I had 10 and I wanted to subtract half of 10, so I'll show you on my hands. If I had half and I split 10 evenly, it'd be like separating my two hands, right? So I'd have 5 and 5. So if I were to do 10 minus 5, and we were to count that out, so if you had 5 and then if you had 10, you subtracted 5, you could count it backwards, you can count it forwards, but I would end up with 5, right? And as you can see, when we subtract half of a number from the original number that we had, so half of 10 is 5, so we subtracted 5, we end up with the same number that we subtracted. And a way that you can check this is that if I were to add these two numbers, it would equal the 10, right? So 5 plus 5 is 10, and that shows me that my answer is correct. So I'm going to show you guys with these beads, or these beans. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. And if I were to count out half of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I should have 5 on the other side, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would be half. So let's try it with a different number. Let's try it with a bigger number. We'll do it with 14. So we'd think, what is half of 14? And a good way to do that is to use these beads, actually. So I have 14 beads here right now. And I think, what is half of that? So if I were to split these into half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. Okay, so now I've split my beads in half, and we can test this theory right here. So if I had 14 and I subtracted 7, my difference, remember difference is the answer in a subtraction number, would also be 7. Because if you doubled 7, so if you doubled this amount, you would get 14. Or if you had 14 and you split it in half, you would get 7. So doubling means that we're taking this answer, or this number that we have right here, and adding the same amount to it, and we would get our first number that we started with. Or cutting in half of the number we would take away, and we would end up with the same number that we subtracted it from. So we have 14 in total, and then half would be 7. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in one pile, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the other pile. So both of these are 7, and together they make a whole, but split they are half, and they're the same amount. Okay, let's do a smaller one. So it's also important to point out that we can only split in half evenly with even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Because if you have an odd number, it's not going to be even halves unless we break one of these in half, right? So here I have 8. So here's 8 beans. If we were to split 8 in half, it would look like this. So we have 8 minus 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. This is another one that you can show yourself on your hands. And so half of 8 is 4. So if you were to take away half of it, we would get the same amount. If we were to double 4, we would get 8. And I'll show you what I mean about the odd number. So actually, I'll leave this here. So if I had like a 7 here, and I tried to subtract half, like 4, it would get me to 3, right? And that's not exactly in half. Or if I tried to subtract 3, it'd get me to 4. So we would have to split numbers even more so. And so we're just going to stick with even numbers, and that is half. So this is my total amount. If I were to split it in half, I would have 4. Or I could look at it as if I have 4 and I doubled it and I got to 8. And remember, you can always check your answer by adding these two together. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. And so we know our answer is right. And so that is how we would subtract half to find what our double would be.